Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Jaya Radha, Gopinath Radha, Gopinath Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivracharya Asutra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Channa Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anand Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवदीप धाम की, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की, यमुना माई की, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutle Srimate Bir Krishna Goswaminiti Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Shrudita Shuddhi Nishtapem Tasya Vakya Nuvadine. Good morning and Hare Krishna to everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you for attending this class. Welcome to all our viewers, online viewers on Mayapur TV and those who are tuned into the ISKCON Sydney YouTube and Facebook. So, Hare Krishna. It's live streaming from Sri Radha Gopinath Temple in Sydney, Australia. So, this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 4. The title of this chapter is called Vidur Approaches Maitreya. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapannarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanjir Hirshuna Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapannarti Harenaha Padarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanjihishuna Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapannarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahi iti Swakulam Sanjir Hirshuna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanjihishna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapanarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanjihishna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapannarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanjihishna. Aham Chokto Bhagavata Prapannarti Harenaha Badarim Tvam Prayahiti Swakulam Sanjihishna. Okay. Aham, I, Cha, and Ukta was told Bhagavata by the Supreme Lord, Prapanna of the surrendered, Arti Harena, by he who is the vanquisher of the distresses. Ha, indeed, Badarim, to Badri, Tvam, you, Prayahi, should go, Iti, thus, Swakulam, his own family, Sanji Hirshuna, who desired to destroy. Oh, this is a very heavy translation. Okay, so the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Lord is the vanquisher of the distresses of one who is surrendered unto him. Thus, he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badrika Ashram. So we can all repeat. The Lord is the vanquisher of the distresses of one who is surrendered unto him. Thus he who desired to destroy his family told me previously to go to Badrika Ashram. Okay, so purport, it's a short purport. So while at Dwarka, Uddhav was warned to avoid the distresses which were to follow, the disappearance of the Lord and the destruction of the Yadu dynasty. He was advised to proceed to Badrika Ashram because there he could associate with the devotees of Naranarayan, and in their association of devotional service, he could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. So that ends the purport. A little bit of Mangal Charan. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this is a very heavy text. We are looking at Lord Krishna destroying his own family, and that's really scary if you have to look at it. Destruction. There are two types of destruction. One is a good one and one is a bad one. Obviously the bad destruction is those who are that's intended to harm someone, and then the other destruction is those that is intended to deliver someone. So this is a positive type of destruction, which is on a very high platform level, which we will not be able to understand. So we cannot take that responsibility of actually being the destructor, and because we are not in the best position or platform to judge whether if we destroy this such and such, it will have a positive effect. So only Krishna is qualified to be the person who's responsible for any kind of destruction, good or bad, the positive destruction. So he, Uddhav, has been asked to go to Badrikashram because he was informed that it's going to be a very distressful situation. I mean, one member of the family gets sick, and we totally lose it. So the entire family is going to have like a massacre of blood. So the situation obviously is going to be very distressful. So Uddhav has been asked to go to Badrikashram. And the important point to note that when I was reading, it's just a short purport, but that he was asked to go and spend his time in association with Narayan for hearing, chanting, knowledge and detachment, and devotional service. And that's actually the main point that I wanted to talk to you about, is that all of us, we are in a situation like Uddhav. And we also are facing different kinds of distresses in life, different kinds, whatever that might be. And right now, the biggest one that I can think of is the one that's happening in India. India is suffering so much over corona, and people are simply dying without oxygen. And oxygen is something that's free, right? We take it for granted. It's available everywhere. And anyone that I've spoken to, they know somebody or other, their family, the entire family is suffering from corona. It's really horrible situation. So these are distresses. And everybody has got some kind of distress happening in their life, or some kind of destruction is happening. And so what is that in our position? What should we do? And this particular text is a very like a neon light pointer, a big arrow to say chanting, hearing, knowledge and detachment, and devotional service. And all these, they form part of the devotional service. So I thought I'd actually I was inspired by a class by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So a lot of this will be quotation from him today. One of the main distresses that we are in, other than the one that I just mentioned, the corona, we are actually in the biggest distress of our life is that we are in a situation of the cycle of birth and death. That is our distress, actually. The rest of the distresses are aside, you put them aside, but the one that we are suffering from the most is the cycle of birth and death. So we are under the grip of something that's called Kala Chakra, which is the wheel of time. And this circles us again and again through repeated sufferings. So we have been through the four miseries, obviously you know. The four miseries of life is the birth, death, old age, disease. So we have been transmigrating through hundreds, thousands and millions of different types of bodies. We know that, different types of bodies. And each time we go in this body, we undergo so much suffering. Every single body. So imagine, I don't know if anyone knows here, but how many bodies have we changed so far? Anybody has any idea? No. So even I don't have any idea. I would like to say I've come from Vaikuntham, but I'm not. So every single time we have this body, we suffer so much. And yet, we come back to yet another body. So the whole point is that our greatest misery, the greatest distress that we should safeguard against is the cycle of birth and death. That is the whole point. And the things that Lord Krishna or the purport actually mentioned is the hearing, chanting, the knowledge and detachment. And these are, okay, so out of these four, chanting and hearing would probably be the easiest, right? Detachment, we haven't gotten there yet. No. The greatest attachment is the one that we have with our body. We still identify ourselves with the body. In other words, we have to maintain it. We have to clothe it. We have to feed it. We have to make sure that we are in a comfortable situation. We are not like renunciates who are roaming the streets without a home. We all have shelter. So the detachment is the hardest one that I can think of. Maybe for some people detachment is easy. But for me personally, I would say detachment is the hardest. The knowledge is fine. What knowledge do we need? What is the knowledge? So I'm going to talk about the knowledge. The knowledge that we need, obviously, is to understand our real nature. Because we think that we are going to die, right? Do we think like that? No? We think we'll live forever, right? Yeah. So the real knowledge is that we have to understand that we are going to die. One day we all going to die. Yes, we are all going to die. And so what are we doing in preparation so that we don't come back the suffering? So that's the knowledge. And that is why we're being given the human form of life, that we have the intelligence. Like for the lower species of life, the animals, they don't know. They have no idea. They're busy like feeding themselves, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. The four principles, that's the animal life. And sadly, that is the state, the condition that the human beings are in right now also on this planet, because the knowledge is missing. So the knowledge is very, very important. And we actually have two paths that Tamal Krishna Maharaj mentioned in his class. One is the Nivritri Marg and the other one is the Pavitri Marg. And the two margs means the two paths. The Pavitri Marg means the path of sense enjoyment, which is the ones that the animals follow. And the Nivritri Marg is the path where we decide, okay, so enough of this sense enjoyment, enough of this material life. We are going to go back to Godhead on the path of God. So there are two. We live with two choices. And that actually comes with the knowledge. And this is what Uddhav has been asked to go and do in Badrika Ashram, to get that knowledge. I mean, they are already liberated souls. They don't need to do these things. But they are there as an example for us. So, the path of sense enjoyment is the actual suffering actually. Because there is no permanent, there's no permanent happiness. I mean, today, maybe I shouldn't talk about, but today, my plan for today is to meet up with some devotees and go for lunch. Okay, the good thing is that there's devotees involved. The bad thing is that we're going to go and have lunch and enjoy our senses. It's going to be temporary though. It's not going to be permanent. I mean, I don't know whether we call it sense enjoyment, but there is a little bit of association there. So what my point is that when we think about enjoying or going for material life or whatever it is, we should dovetail it. Have some bhakti in there. Have some association of devotees there. Then it won't be so bad. You wouldn't feel like, okay, this is purely sense enjoyment. So try to install a little bit of bhakti in there somewhere. So as long as we are in ignorance of this real constitutional nature, that, you know, we are not this body. He's a pure spirit soul. I've written here. What have I done? Following the path of sense enjoyment. Now, if we do this, follow this path of sense of enjoyment, we go up and down in the different species of different planetary systems, repeatedly having to suffer birth, death, and disease and old age. So, what has Krishna done, or the good Lord has done, to give us this knowledge? What he has done is he's given us the Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptural literatures of which we can take shelter of, where we can get the knowledge that we are the soul, we are not the body. If we didn't have the Srimad Bhagavatam, we didn't have the other spiritual scriptures, we'd never know. We'd never know. And we'd continue like the animals. So the smart thing to do is, first of all, we all know from our Guru Maharaj, from this association we've been given by Srila Prabhupada, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. First thing is we chant. We know that. Second thing we know is here. Third thing is we get the knowledge. We have to take shelter of this knowledge. We have to take shelter of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. There is, I couldn't stress enough, it couldn't be stressed enough how important the Srimad Bhagavatam is, the Bhagavad Gita is, the scriptural, the literatures that we have Vedic knowledge, how important it is. The reason Lord Krishna has given it to us is because he knows that certain devotees, certain people, they have changed their path from the sense enjoyment path to the path where they want to go back to Godhead. And so he's decided, okay, well, let me do you a favor. Let me send the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he arranged for this Leela, where Parikshit Maharaj is sitting there and asking questions of Srila Sukadev Goswami. Actually, Parikshit Maharaj doesn't need to ask any of those questions. He knows it. He knows that he is not the body. He knows the purpose of human life is to realize that we have to go back to Godhead. He already knows that. But he actually asked these questions. And Srila Sukadev Goswami, he praised Parikshit Maharaj on the glories of his questions. Because he said, these questions are just not really anything ordinary. They're meant to deliver so many souls for so many lifetimes. And we're still reading it up to today. So we have to realize that the real fact is that our nature is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss. But we have forgotten that. We've forgotten that we are the spiritual soul. So on account of that forgetfulness, we forget our true constitutional position. We actually try to relate with the material energy. Which we have nothing to do with whatsoever. It's an illusion. Material energy is very temporary. But Maya, which is material energy, she makes us believe that it's fun, it's great, and that is the tricky part of it. But if you were to ask a person on the deathbed who has enjoyed material life, all his material energies, and thought, oh, this is great, Maya is great, you'll ask him, are you happy? He will say no. Why? Because he's dying and suffering. So while we are enjoying the material energies, we think we are happy. But at the end of the day, when the time comes for us to die, that's when we realize that it wasn't so great and we are dying. So, but by that time we would have accumulated all these karmas, and our next body is waiting to be occupied. So the smart thing to do is, while we are still living, we have to gain that knowledge. But the knowledge in itself is actually not enough to deliver us. There has to be practice. So there has to be practice of that knowledge. So practice what we preach. So I'll come to that in a little bit. So like I said, the Lord sends us the Bhagavatam, the scriptural references, books to remind the living entity, the fallen conditioned souls. He also sends the person Bhagavatam. That was an interesting thing. He also sends the person Bhagavatam. So who is the person Bhagavatam? Guru, Sadhu. And in our case this morning, who is the person, not me obviously, but who is the person Bhagavatam for us this morning? Srila Sukadev Goswami, yes. Vyasadeva, yes. These are they are personalities of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam personalities means the representative, a true representative of God. So we have two kinds of associations. One is the association of reading the book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the other association is the actual person Bhagavatam. So two places where we can take shelter. Just like Uddhav has taken shelter in Badrik Ashram with Narayan, we are not Uddhav, we are very fallen conditions of this, this age, Kali Yuga. We've taken so many births. So our shelter, what is our shelter? Our shelter is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. And the person, the person who is Bhagavatam, a person who is a pure devotee of the Lord. In our case, Srila Prabhupada, our Guru. So this is what we recite every morning. Nasta priyashu abhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatim uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. We take shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what we recite every morning. That's what it means. Our two shelters is the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavatam. This actually I got from listening to Tamal Krishna Maharaj's class. So I found it very interesting, and I thought, let me impart how he had presented this. It was nothing to do with this particular shlok. He was talking about some other text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but I thought it was very applicable. So I'm talking about it today. So he said, if one renders service through association with the book Bhagavatam, if one renders service through association with the book Bhagavatam, the scripture describing glories of Lord Krishna, and the person Bhagavatam, that is the pure devotee who is always absorbed in serving the desire of Krishna, then all that is inauspicious is wiped out. All that is inauspicious is wiped out from the heart. So we have been accumulating a lot of desires, material desires, and we have done a lot of activities, and amongst them is the sinful activities too. So as a result, we have inauspiciousness in our heart. So with this association of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavata, whoever is the pure devotee, and a pure devotee of the Lord is always absorbed in serving Krishna, serving the desire of Krishna. Not by his own desire, serving the desire of Krishna, then all that is inauspicious in our heart, that gets wiped out. And what replaces those inauspicious things in the heart is what is established is devotional service. And once we get the devotional service, we actually realize our constitutional nature, position with Lord Krishna. So that's the process. We realize the position of the entity. So Parikshit Maharaj was very lucky. I mean, in one sense, if somebody says, oh, you're going to die in 7 days, a snake is going to come and bite you, and you will die. So you wouldn't think that's very lucky, right? I wouldn't. If somebody told me you're going to die, Mataji, in 7 days, one snake, the red belly, is going to come and bite you, is going to crawl through the window and bite you in 7 days. Well, I don't think that's lucky. But here he's considered, Parikshit Maharaj is considered lucky because the 7 days before death, he gets the opportunity to meet a real Bhagavata, which is Srila Sukadev Goswami. He gets an opportunity to meet. So we are not that lucky in that sense, but we still have the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we don't have 7 days, but we've got approximately 100 years from the time we were born, approximately. So we've got plenty of time to associate with the Srimad Bhagavatam and come to all this knowledge that we need. And obviously, Parikshit Maharaj was qualified. So in other words, we've got to actually qualify ourselves too. What is that? We have to be free from envy and greed and stuff like that. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7.1, which is one of my favorite shlokas, where Krishna says to Arjun that I'm imparting this confidential knowledge to you because you're free from envy, right? So we've got to do that. In order to be able to absorb the knowledge in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we've got to do that. The way to do that is through chanting, hearing, service to the Vaishnavas, service to Krishna. So it all is like in a circle. We've got to come to that platform where we are able to be qualified to be able to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's when, as soon as we start doing that, Krishna knows, okay, this particular poor, fallen, conditioned soul, which is me, one of them, wants to come back to Godhead, come back home. Krishna knows that because he's in your heart, he's a Paramatma. So once he knows that, what does he do? He sends the Guru straight to you. They say that the Guru finds you. You don't find the Guru. In my case, it was very, very obvious because I was there studying in university and thinking, oh, life is great and don't go and see any Hare Krishna Guru Maharajas because they all are phonies. That was the attitude I had. So they are phonies and, don't bother meeting them. And then one nice fine day, I had a dream that this sannyasi came in my dream and said hi. He didn't say Hare Krishna, he said hi. And I was like, who's that? And who's that? It was very funny. He came and sat on my sofa and said hi. And obviously, a week or two later, Tilakni Mataji, she's a very famous Tamal Krishna Maharaj devotee in Auckland, New Zealand. If you ever go there, please meet her. She's a very good cook, and all the sannyasis, they love her cooking. You just buy a prasad, you can go back to Godhead. I miss that. So she tricked me. She said, I don't know how to cook. Can you please come and help me? Of course she knows how to cook. She is the cook. So I decided, a poor little Mataji, let me help her, because all these people in Hare Krishna, what are they doing? Why can't they help this poor little Mataji? There's so many devotees. I was really had a very negative attitude to all the devotees and the sannyasis. Anyway, I decided to go and help her. I found out that she's very competent in the kitchen, obviously. But that's where I met my Guru Maharaj, because he came there. And as soon as I saw him, I thought, what on earth was he doing in my dream? I'd never seen him in my life before. Who is he? I thought maybe he's Krishna, maybe he's got some kind of, how the yogis, they have these siddhis? I thought maybe he's got some power of magic. What was he doing in my dream? I almost fell off my chair when I saw him. But the whole point is the Guru finds you. The Guru finds you. So Krishna sends you the Guru. Guru Prasade Pai Bhakti Lada Beach. What that means is the Guru comes, installs the seed of Bhakti in your heart. So the Bhakti seed is not there automatically. It is there probably dormant, but you need a Guru to come and activate it. So, that's the password. When we need a password to activate something, it's the Guru, he comes with the password. It is sent by Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna finally realizes, okay, this poor soul wants to come back to me, has had enough of material energies, has had enough of material enjoyment. So that's the whole point. So Maharaj Parikshit was a perfect candidate for liberation, because he knew that the material world is temporary. And we are coming to that conclusion as well. Have you ever enjoyed something so much and it comes to an abrupt end and you feel, oh my God, what's happened? Where did it go? That's Lord Krishna giving a good hard kick to say, hey, this is temporary, you're not supposed to enjoy it. So, and we realize that the fruits of the material life is actually bitter. That's when we realize it. When our material enjoyment comes to an abrupt end, then we realize, oh, hey, welcome, Hare Krishna. So we realize that this fruit that we've been enjoying is really, really bitter. Then we pick up a Bhagavad Gita and we read and we go, oh, there's a Kalpa Vriksha in the spiritual world. There's a tree, there's a spiritual tree, and the fruits of that is very sweet. It is not bitter. Then we realize that there's another tree, another kind of tree that we should aspire for. So we go there. Okay, so we find, actually, Tamal Krishna Maharaj said that we are all cheating ourselves by trying to enjoy this kind of bitter fruit. Because we are not allowing ourselves the chance to enjoy the spiritual fruit. So if we decide to take that path of the temporary enjoyment, whatever it is, I mean, I'm always screaming for a Ferrari. So, I don't know what other people are screaming for. My Guru Maharaj in his class keeps on saying, I'm attached to my computers, and he has all these gadgets and like a studio for his class, and it's really, really top of the art or top of the class. But he's attached to his computers, but it's used for Krishna. So we have to understand that we are not cheating ourselves, if we aspire for those things. We should aspire for the spiritual fruit. We should aspire to see Krishna. I aspire for Krishna also, that's why I'm here. You aspire for Krishna, that's why you are here. You're doing deity worship, you're doing service of some kind. So we are aspiring, and that's a good aspiration to have. And that will actually end the suffering. So, and anyone who has this knowledge will actually find a devotee to associate with, because you actually get this taste for spiritual aspiration you get from association of a devotee. One devotee will say, oh, well, I cooked for Krishna today, and I made these chapatis, and I made these pakoras, I made that, and you will feel, okay, yeah, it was nice, let me try. I'd like to do that one day. Or when we see the deities dressed so beautifully, the first thing we want to do is go to the deities and we start dressing them. That's why people take Brahmin initiation, because they want to dress deities. A lot of us. That's why I took Brahmin initiation, because they needed a pujari on the altar. So we need to have that taste. And who gives us the taste is a devotee. Actually, it's a devotee who gives us the taste. Any devotee. That's why we chant Vanchakalpa in the morning. Because these devotees are just like desire trees, and they fulfill the desires of everyone. They are an ocean of mercy, and it's very true. It is very true. I met one devotee or another devotee, and I get motivation to do certain services. I get motivation to chant. I get motivation to taste spiritual, chanting, kirtans, whatever it is. It comes from a devotee, one devotee to another. It's better than the spread of corona. Actually, the best spreading of this devotional taste for devotional service is from a devotee association. So, actually, another thing with this Vanchakalpa is the element of compassion. Because once we become a devotee of Lord Krishna, if we reach that certain platform, we're completely satisfied anyway. We don't need to do anything because we're satisfied with Krishna. So then, why do these devotees come down here? Because they're full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. The 6 Goswamis are the best associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And they're satisfied, but they're not fully satisfied. Why? Because they are suffering on behalf of the fallen conditioned souls. They're not satisfied until everybody goes back to Godhead. So they are actually there. They put their own suffering, they accept their own suffering, so that the fallen conditioned souls don't suffer. And that's the kind of person that's most dear to Lord Krishna. Is somebody who places their own suffering, doesn't consider but likes to have compassion for the fallen conditioned souls, and they go out of their way. They take it upon themselves, like our Guru Maharaj is ready to take our karma. So that kind of devotee, pure devotee, is most dear to Lord Krishna. So they actually sacrifice, they're ready to sacrifice their own liberation to that point, to help liberate others. And it is the greatest service one can do. That's the greatest service one can do. They personally undertake this suffering. So, I have many things that I have written, but I won't be able to cover it all. So, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, underwent great difficulty, right? He took so much suffering so that we would enjoy this temple today. The sweat and blood that went through, oh my goodness. By the end of the time he left, he was simply like skin covering the bones. And it was mentioned that the nerves would have been probably electrifyingly painful, because it's always touching the bone of all his throughout his body, because everything else had gone. He was simply skin and bones. So how much pain he would have been at the end, we cannot imagine. So he went through a lot of difficulty. And why did he do that? Why do we do that? Why does a mother go through so much suffering? To help the child. Why do devotees go through so much suffering? To please Krishna. I say, we should be ready. I don't know if I'm in that state. I can say that I'm not ready to go through anything for you, Lord Krishna. But that's what the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada did. Undertake any kind of suffering to please Krishna, only to please Krishna. Actually, when we went for parikrama, this is just another story. I went to parikrama at Govardhan with my spiritual master, and all these devotees were there. And we approached the Govinda Kund. There was a desire tree there. And he said, he instructed all of us, go to the desire tree, put your forehead there, offer your obeisances, and ask for service. Ask this desire tree for service. Don't ask for anything else. And because, he's our spiritual master, I didn't ask for that Ferrari. I asked for, actually I thought, should I ask for service or not? I questioned myself. I don't know about the others, but I questioned myself. Not because I wanted to ask for something material, but it was in my mind at that time, what if Krishna doesn't want to give me service? What if it's not his desire? And I'm asking for it. So instead of asking for devotional service, which is round about the same thing, I said to the desire tree, whatever it is, let me please Lord Krishna. Whatever is his desire, whatever is his will, give me that. So that is what I asked. And actually, Lord Krishna's desire is to give us a guru and devotional service. So round about it was the same thing. But, I don't know if I should have mentioned what I asked the desire tree. Maybe I shouldn't have. But anyway, in hindsight. But that's what we should actually pray for. We should ask for service. So Srila Prabhupada, he undertook the burden of the world, actually. He took the burden of the entire world and burden of sinful activities of other living entities to relieve them of the suffering condition. So that those things, and then there's the thing of hearing also. Parikshit Maharaj sat and heard all the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So we have the hearing, and there's the knowledge part, that the four things that we just mentioned this morning: chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. Once we have that knowledge, then we'll detach. So detachment comes later, after all the knowledge and everything. So there was this example. Devotee, she prays that she wants to hear the discussion about birth and death, because by hearing about this, she develops detachment. As soon as we hear about birth and death, we should hear about that a lot, actually, if you want to detach. If you don't want to detach, don't hear about it. But if you want to detach, you've got to know that you're going to die. We're all going to die. So, where our money is going to go, where property is going to go, whatever we have accumulated is going to go. We can't take it with us. So, detachment, it doesn't really belong to us anyway. And we have this this concept also, this person is my mother, my father, my friend, my son. Actually, no. They're just there because of the bodily reaction. We've taken a birth, so they're connected with the body, but not the soul. So they're not really yours. So the detachment comes. Detachment comes. So the person who's on the deathbed, they know. We're going to leave our wife behind or child behind, whatever. They know. Detachment. That's the last stage, and that's when the detachment comes. So the devotee says, give me this discussion about birth and death all the time. Then I will detach. So then she takes shelter of detachment. And we all know that death strikes at any moment, but we still think I'm happy, enjoying. So I'm going to come to the conclusion of it, and I'll read some of the nice things, quotations that Tamal Krishna Maharaj has said. He said, a devotee of the Lord who simply wants to see Krishna pleased, he is a happy person. So if you want to know the secret of happiness, you just have to know. So I guess when I asked the desire tree that I want to see Krishna pleased, I must have been happy on that day. I can't say I'm happy today, but on that day. So devotee of the Lord who simply wants to see Krishna pleased, he is a happy person. And what is the reward for that? The reward for that is bhakti. It elevates one beyond the position achieved by any other spiritual processes in life. One who engages in that path of bhakti, the results of the fruitive activity, study of Vedas, penances, austerities, pilgrimages, all types of activities are automatically rewarded to one who takes up the service of Krishna. So bhakti will give you everything. That's what this is saying. If you want all the fruitive activities, like people do karma kand and stuff like that. And the yogi, they want siddhis. Actually, you will find that once you become a devotee, you suddenly develop some kind of siddhis. Your senses just get magnified. I don't know if you've experienced it. I experienced it sometime too. It's really interesting. So we get the siddhis also. And we get, the pious deeds that we do. We get the fruits of that. So everything is, once we take up bhakti, it gives us all the rewards that we want automatically. We don't even have to think about it. So that tells us that therefore, devotee of Lord Krishna is not ordinary. We're not cheap. So we are actually the devotees of Lord Krishna, pure devotees. They are not ordinary. They're not ordinary souls. People think actually that they're simple. This Mataji is in a simple cheap sari, or this Prabhuji is in a simple dhoti. They're simple. No. Actually, in the simplicity is the knowledge in serving Krishna. That is the highest truth. And they have the highest truth, the most precious jewel. They are actually very elevated. So a devotee is not ordinary. Vaishnavas are not ordinary. So, and obviously we know the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna are the gopis. And they are simple, and their desire is simply to praise Krishna, nothing else. And they are, who's the greatest renunciate, by the way, that we know? Who has the quality of renunciation? Krishna, yes. So the greatest renunciate 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's God himself, but he came as a devotee. He renounced everything, came as a devotee. And he praises who? He praises gopis. The greatest renunciate, he praises gopis for their simplicity and for their desire to only serve Krishna. We are very lucky, we are here for Radha Gopinath. So we get a taste one way or another. We should get something, some mercy of gopis, hopefully, because he's Gopinath. Hopefully. So, a devotee, so how do we become a devotee? We obviously have to follow the standard processes. We have to follow the 4 regulative principles. And we have to strictly chant our 16 rounds. And he will attain a most dear position of being a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Obviously, if we are not following the processes strictly, we cannot expect to have that position. That is the other side of the deal. So we have to strictly follow the 4 regulative principles, the chanting of the 16 rounds. That's why we're here in the morning Mangalarti. Make sure we finish, go round and round the Tulsi, finish the 16 rounds. Because then you get mercy of Lord Krishna. Otherwise we don't stand a chance. So that concludes my class for this morning. We don't have time for questions, but if anybody has any comments, questions. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki Jai. I'm sorry.